I'd like to take a moment now to talk about sacred trust that we hold as congregations. The sacred trust of ensuring that our congregations are safe places for persons of all ages. If you turn to pages 26 to 28 in your discernment book, you'll find the report that we shared with you on that. The sad news is that the church is not immune from sexual misconduct. Abuse does occur by church leaders or by church members, and the effects are simply devastating. It's a topic that we do need to talk about in our congregations. As churches, I believe we must take this issue seriously. At no time can we as a church ever cover up, ignore harassment or abuse, or even the risk of that. And unfortunately, in the past few years here in MCEC, we have dealt with several incidents of sexual abuse by ministerial leaders. And whenever MCEC is approached with a complaint or a suspicion of abuse, that is taken seriously and it is investigated. If it's a non-credentialed lay person, MCEC does not get involved directly, but we will walk alongside church leaders to help you do the investigation that you need to do. And in that regard, I want you to also be aware of SMART, the Sexual Misconduct, Abuse, and Resource Response Team. That is an interdenominational group facilitated, in fact, by Mennonite Central Committee Ontario, that is there as a resource to us, both as churches and as the wider church. SMART is there as consultants when there is an incident that occurs. They're also there for preventive action, for education, and if you recall last year, we shared with you the Circles of Grace curriculum that they have produced. If you haven't looked at it, please do. This is our responsibility. Let me briefly share with you what else MCEC has done in regards to sexual harassment and abuse. If you look on your screen, we're going to take you live to our homepage on our MCEC website. Once you're on that homepage, look for the box that says Reporting Sexual Misconduct by Church Leaders. This page encourages anyone who believes they've experienced sexual misconduct to explore it and report it in a confidential manner. If you look further down the page, you'll see a question and answer section. This section describes a number of different things about sexual abuse and harassment. You look at that list, you can find something that interests you. For instance, let's click on sexual misconduct by a church leader. When we're taken to that next page, you'll see a description of what sexual misconduct is about, and then you go back and ask another question. But let's return to the home page. Once we're back at the home page, click on Sacred Trust this time. Sacred Trust is a series of educational stories that we commissioned Carol Penner, former moderator of MCEC and former MCEC pastor, and soon to be returning professor at Conor Grable College in practical theology, to write for us. Carol has background in this area, is a student of theology and Bible, and is sharing her experience around misconduct. These educational pieces will help us to better understand misconduct, better understand victims, and to know what we as congregations can do about it. If you look right below that Sacred Trust banner, you're going to see the last editions of the 4 stories that are currently out. We're anticipating a series of 12. And if you drop down below that and click on the recent release, you're going to be taken to the most recent story that Carol produced here this past month. In that story, you're going to read about Kayla. You're going to read her story. You're going to be directed to a biblical grounding for that story. You're going to be told to explore what that means for healthy boundaries and professional ethics. And finally, Carol offers some questions at the end for personal or group discussion. So please make sure that your congregation knows about this resource. I also want you to be aware that MCEC has adopted a therapeutic counseling policy for victims of ministerial sexual misconduct. You can contact us, and victims are offered that as an opportunity for healing. If you want to know more about what MCEC does, and particularly the types of things that Henry mentioned, then look at my report there in the workbook or the discernment documents. Friends, protecting people from sexual harassment and abuse is the responsibility of everyone in the congregation, period. Together, let's do everything we can to make our congregations a safe place. Remember, it is a sacred trust. May God help us.